Okay. You see these pictures. First of all, this is a picture I think is somewhere in Gaza or somewhere where there's kids starving, and those are like 6, 7 year old kids. It's babies, little girls, right? As you can see. And I'm listening to this perp because what they start doing, they gave me a feeling and like, no, you felt like that at some point, and give me, we mapped it or something. That's when they try to give you a sensation, which they then try to say, no, you felt like that at some point, right? They make you experience something that you organically will not experience. But they say you experienced it at some point, we're just making you experience something that you've experienced before. That's what they call it, mapping it. Right, they try to say that it's an experience that you perhaps won't experience right now, right? And I'm saying that in the most logical way. But at some point in your life, maybe in your childhood, you've experienced that. And then they use it's funny how they use the tonality to try to like sound like, when somebody gaslight you, right? Let's just say they want you to believe that the red color is green, right? And they're like, no, it's green. It's green. No, this is green. And this person makes no sense, but she wants to convince you via her tonality. It's green. it is green. And this is the way they truly interact with me when they want me to accept these manipulations. When they want me to believe that this something is not, is something that is falsified, try to make me believe of that. It's like, no. You see, this car is actually a bike. It's a bike. It is a bike. That is the kind of interaction I'm forced to experience via these perps, these losers, this trash the government contract to try to get you to accept this manipulation. Because of course, naturally, I will never experience none of that. Time I've seen pictures of starving kids or whatever. Well, I watch the news all the time. But now, because of the manipulations, I'm forced to get this stimulation. Matter of fact, they even try to change my memories to make me experience that in my memories. And then try to use that tonality that's supposed to be convincing. No, it's you. And then what they do, they try to change subject. Oh, no, you raped. They try to go into something else in order for you to forget this way they want you to accept these manipulations. It's like, no, we know what we did. What you did as a kid. We're mapping to you when you were a child. Remember? Obviously, they try to exaggerate what I did as a child. But try to be like they are trying to diverge the reality that obviously I'm being manipulated to experience that. And they're like, oh no, you know what? He's gonna abuse you. He's gonna abuse you. To try to diverge the fact that they manipulate me to experience these things. These people who actually, what you're going to hear is they torture children. They abuse them using Department of Defense technology. Sexual torture is applied onto these children. They've heard it many times. They try to use the tonality to counter that. And find ways to diverge. Oh no, you know what? We're going to charge you. We're going to frame you. Because I'm going to bring the fact that they torture children. They hurt children in ways that you can never understand. But the way they talk is supposed to counter that. That they know that I know they torture children. And so what they're going to say, something random, which actually validates me. We frame. Because this is what these people do. This slow life not only force people to give a reaction that they will not experience naturally, then try to convince you via this retardation of tonality, which you can obviously see what they're trying to do. Imagine somebody who will try to gaslight you and how they want to sound. They try to sound convincing. If somebody want to show you a color and want you to believe a certain color, let's just say they want you to see, they want you to believe this color is orange, but the color is brown. They're gonna try to sound convincing. They're gonna find ways of tonality of try to sound this way. It's orange. Hey, it's orange. And then when you start try to make sense of it, it's it's gonna rain tomorrow. You're gonna be wet. What? What are you talking about? And it's like, are you just trying to diverge? We're gonna frame you. It'll hurt. That is who interacts with me, and that's what they're supposed to interact with me. Those are called perps. They are contracted civilians who are trying to diverge, disorient you into accepting the manipulations, which is then forcing you to experience, and then want you to have this logic that is nonsensical, that what we're making you experience is something that you would experience at some point, maybe in your childhood. And so we're making you feel something that you felt as a child, you in your 30s. Does it even make sense? And they want you to hold on to that as if it makes sense. That they're making you experience things that you would not experience naturally. These people who actually torture children, which of course you're gonna hear, and they try to create this loop, which in the reality is, I know they dedicate their life in this. So what does it make? What does it what does it do to them? People who are daily remember that they're part of a program that tortures children in ways that they can't even that are so disturbing, while wanting me to accept these manipulations of how I'm forced to experience today as an adult man, saying that, oh no, what we do is we make you think like a child, and then be like, no, but remember what you did as a kid in 8th grade who just turned 14, or who's just 13 about to turn 14, as who torture children in this program in ways that's so disturbing. What do you think people who are involved in this, what happens to them? Who want you to be this illogical, who disorient themselves and disorient me to try to escape from the reality of what they're part of, then validate me but tell me, oh, we're going to frame you. Yes, you are going to frame me. That's why you call me a saint, because you're just so foul, so disturbingly low, a bottom feeder, that I look like a saint. Because you are forcing men and women all around the world to get stimulations for children. This is not unique to me. Do they tell them, oh, we just mapped it to you at some point when you're a child? I don't know if that's one of their ways of trying to make somebody accept these manipulations. But they have this systematic pattern to try to make somebody, to actually manipulate somebody to experience pedophilia type of responses and reactions. And torture people in horrible ways, which I know I'm going to experience that. And they do that to children. For me, this makes me feel dignified. That I'm thankful that I don't have to live their life. That's why they call me a saint. Because they've given me a dignity within the sufferings. And this trash has turned into low-life bottom feeders. Trash that will never, ever, ever can buy themselves out of what they're part of now. In whatever tonality they talk. And me now sound like a genius because I'm just saying the obvious. Because they thought that somehow the way they interact with me using the different tonality will make me accept these things. Like, do you think I don't recognize gaslighting and or somebody who's trying to convince you? So it's like somebody who just look at you, can lie to your face and be like, no, actually, I'm a butterfly. I know. They can look at you like, no, you know what? This is my world. We see this person living it. No, it's my world. You're like, what's wrong with you? No. And the way they sound, thinking they can make you believe it, but just the tonality. Try to gaslight you into accepting something that's completely falsified about you. That is what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is to try to make you believe a false reality about who you are. To try to convince you that you're somebody or something that you're not. That's what's gaslighting. It's not to lie just to impress somebody. It's not to, no. It's just to try to make you believe something about you that is falsified. That is what they do. They try to make you believe something that you know is falsified. And then when you put things back in perspective, they disorient you in ways they can by changing the subject in whatever ways they can to continuously confuse you when it's obvious that they do these things systematically. That's what they like to, for me, in my case, when I hear this purpose, when I even see this purpose, they are like children. And when they're not like children, well, when they're not actual children, they act like children. Very well established individuals of all sorts. Turning to children in front of you, making you feel like a dignified genius almost. Just because these people, who in every other situation would be very logical, rational beings, but because they want you to accept this falsification of reality, they have to dumb themselves down into a state of almost retardation, to turn you into a state of retardation. And you, if you recognize what they're doing, you find it comical. And what they do when they hate when I see the comicalness of how they try to make me subscribe to things. It's like, oh, they're gonna laugh. To try to tell you that you're gonna be tortured, and so that should be something that is validations. And then try to tell you you're dying. Yes, I'm dying because you who do the manipulations, the psychological manipulations, are also torturing or tormenting my organs to the point of death. Yes, that's part of the program. You slowly kill the target individual, also psychologically torture them using this pedophilia type of torture. And that tonality is not going to change anything. And they truly try to work on this tonality. So you see these kids, starving kids, in some region. I think it's somewhere in Gaza. Middle Eastern, I think. Of course, stimulations. They're like, oh no, that's the age you see. That's what it feels like. Stop it. I know me. I've seen starving kids on TV many times. This is nothing new. I've never experienced this nasty reaction when I saw them. If you try to say that when I was a kid, I felt like this when I was in 3rd grade or something, this is some stupid things. But I understand. Your job is to convince me, to make me subscribe to the pedophilia things that you've been doing to others. So to all my target individual, I'd rather die in hell, suffer, get tortured, than having in my life as an able individual, capable of thinking, capable of rationalizing, being contracted to literally push somebody to be this retarded and force somebody to think in this disturbing way and react to a disturbing way toward children. While I'm also in a program that tortured children sexually. This is who's talking to me. And they know I know that. Before I die. This trash, who knows, some already have died while doing this thing to me. I know that. So that makes me feel this dignity where they now, just to kind of mess with me, they call me a saint. Just because, oh, well, you're a saint. It's like, no, you're just that much of a trash. Target individuals, listen to what they do to women. Listen to what they do to children. Listen to the pedophilia type of torture that they've been doing systematically to so many. And also, by the way, just caused the mass shooting 2-3 weeks ago. The largest mass shooting in this country this year because of the TI. That they were messing with these derogative things they said. Killed 18 people, including a child. Now, this is a small sample of what they do. They've done much worse. They literally torture these people. Literally, in this program, these people involved in this program doing these things to me are involved in a program that literally hurts children sexually and other ways. This is what they do. So do never identify with these people trying to make you accept these things who systematically do that to so many people. Be strong and know yourself and see them for the gaslighting, trash, bottom feeder, low life shit that are supposed to break you down into accepting manipulation, regardless of whatever tonality they use. Do not subscribe to that. Because one thing is for sure. Fate has shown that these people actually happens to work for entities in this intelligence community who we all know have their strong fingerprints all over this program, like the CIA, like the DOD, like DARPA, happen to have a lot of problem with pedophilia. I am thankful that before whatever happens to me to the point where I am not able to function, when I'm completely in pain, I got this to see the reality of what those agencies have as an issue while they implement this pedophilia type of torture. I'm thankful. So for that, target individual, listen to the things you've heard so many times, and I will do that even a trillion times if I have to, because these validations should be seen as what these low life are and what we are. We're dignified to not be involved in these things, and we have to stay strong.
Goal. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
End my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
to as malodorants. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted.
Human breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
They would never take my will, and since we all know how the psychopaths groups work with what the TI says or does, then they started during the nights to run some kind of beam where suddenly I've been wakened up at 3 o'clock in the mornings and some kind of voice comes and say phrases, sound incomprehensible, and some other times can actually catch what is saying, it's not my voice, a different voice, and I realize that they are trying to program for me to take it in a way that I won't notice a possible change in my behavior. Of course this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there, is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Ben said this: the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them, I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me, all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but as my way to aggravate the slaves, and since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater etc. Especially teenagers for the stalking at close range with an attitude, they are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today September 9th, 07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking, and since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto, in their central computers, no handlers could do something like this that quick. What make me realized, the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them, they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers EAP me, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a being where I feel constantly stimulated. I'm talking sexually, like a heat in my genitalia.
A speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, ow, and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, ow. I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, ow, while looking up at me.
Symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights. You will often hear that vision is something that is greatly affected with this type of torture.
So you...
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here.
970, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
This video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our 3rd annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm out.
CIA torture scripts. I mean, book perfectly.
2-year-old and a 6
Annual Targeted Individual Day. That's August 29th, 2020. My name is Linda Marie Sharp in Mendocino County, California, United States. I am a targeted person and have been for over 12 years. I am electronically tortured by directed energy weapons.
Hi, my name is Lisa Davis and I'm in Duluth, Minnesota. I am a targeted individual.
Of government could do this. And so anyway, what, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts. I mean, Kubark manual. And they do good cop, bad cop interrogation called Jeff and Mutt, and they go right through the list, right? Just textbook. So whoever the handlers are on the other side of this synthetic telepathy, they're following the handbook perfectly.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general population? Evil?
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking these digital footprints. They're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks. If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind